Don't sign. $3.3 billion will crash and burn. Serena Jackson's voice echoed as she burst into Pinnacle Enterprises' boardroom, a crumpled document clutched in her trembling hand, stopping CEO Ethan Caldwell's pen midair. The stunned executives turned, their faces a mix of shock and scorn, as this night shift janitor dared to halt a corporate empire's biggest moment. Where are you watching from, folks? New York, Lagos, or maybe Atlanta? What do you think happens next? Will Serena's courage save thousands of jobs? Or will betrayal win? This is The Janitor's Justice, a tale of grit and heart that'll keep you guessing. Subscribe now to catch our latest videos and share in the comments where you're tuning in from. Who's behind this sabotage, and can a janitor outsmart a corporate conspiracy? Stick around to find out. The fluorescent lights of Pinnacle Enterprises' 35th floor buzzed like a swarm of restless bees, casting a sterile glow over the empty hallway. It was 2:17 a.m., and Serena Jackson pushed her cleaning cart with the practiced rhythm of 4 years on the night shift. The wheels squeaked faintly, a familiar companion in the silence of the corporate tower. Her navy uniform hung loosely on her frame, the fabric worn but clean, a badge of her invisible labor. She was a shadow in these halls, unnoticed by the daytime suits who left behind coffee cups and crumpled memos for her to sweep away. But tonight, something was different. The air felt heavy, charged with a secret waiting to be uncovered. Serena paused at the executive suite, her cart halting beside a sleek chrome trash bin labeled Confidential Shred. It was her routine to empty at last, a task she approached with care, knowing the weight of the secrets it held. As she tipped the bin, a wad of crumpled papers caught her eye, wedged beneath a takeout container. Most nights she'd ignore such debris. Her job was to clean, not to pry. But something about the way these pages were hastily balled up, as if someone had tried to bury them, tugged at her curiosity. She glanced down the hallway, the security cameras' red lights blinking like distant stars. No one was watching. Her heart gave a quick thud as she reached in, her gloved fingers brushing against cold, greasy cardboard to retrieve the papers. In the dim light, Serena smoothed the pages on her cart, her breath catching as she scanned the text. The words hit like a punch. Operation Eclipse, Merger Sabotage Plan. Her eyes darted over the lines, each one more damning than the last. The document outlined a scheme to derail Pinnacle's $3.3 billion merger with Horizon Innovations. A deal that was the talk of every break room and elevator. Fake audit reports, fabricated debt figures, and a carefully timed leak to the Financial Post were set to hit at 11:00 a.m., just an hour after the signing ceremony scheduled for 10:00 a.m. The goal was clear: make Horizon believe Pinnacle was a sinking ship, collapsing the merger and dragging both companies down with it. Serena's hands trembled, the papers crinkling under her grip. She reread the plan, hoping she'd misunderstood, but the details were viciously precise. Someone inside Pinnacle, someone with access to confidential financials, was orchestrating this betrayal. The merger wasn't just a corporate handshake, it was a lifeline for thousands. She thought of Maria in payroll, who stayed late to balance books while worrying about her son's hospital bills. Jamal from maintenance, always whistling as he fixed flickering lights, had just put a down payment on a barbershop. Their dreams, their families, their futures, all hung in the balance. And Pinnacle's 8,000 employees weren't alone. Horizon's 12,000 workers across 7 states would feel the ripple effects. A single leak could shatter lives like glass. Her reflection stared back from a polished office door, her brown eyes wide with fear and resolve. Serena was no executive, no power player. She was a 32-year-old single mother, taking night classes in accounting at the community college, scraping by in a 1-bedroom apartment. Her dreams were modest, a small business of her own, maybe a cleaning service that treated workers fairly. But now those dreams felt distant, overshadowed by the weight of what she held. Who would believe her, a janitor, over someone in a corner office? The thought pressed down like a storm cloud, heavy and suffocating. Yet doing nothing wasn't an option. She couldn't face Maria's grateful smile or Jamal's easy laugh, knowing she'd let their worlds crumble. Serena slipped the documents into her uniform pocket, the paper crinkling against her hip. The clock on her phone read 2:45 a.m., Less than 8 hours until the signing. Ethan Caldwell, Pinnacle's CEO, would arrive around 7 a.m., his blonde hair and easy smile a fixture in company newsletters. She'd never met him, only glimpsed his face in glossy photos, but he was her only hope. The executive floor was off-limits to night staff without clearance, and security was strict. Cameras watched every corner, badge readers guarded every door. Getting to him would be a gamble, one that could cost her job, maybe more. But the alternative, silence, was unthinkable. She pushed her cart toward the janitor's closet, her soft-soled shoes silent on the polished floor. Inside the cramped space, she sat on an overturned bucket. The documents spread before her like a map to disaster. Her fingers traced the words again, each line fueling her resolve. The plan was ruthless. Fake reports would paint Pinnacle as a financial disaster, triggering Horizon to pull out. The fallout would be catastrophic. Layoffs, broken families, dreams deferred. Serena thought of her father, laid off from a factory job after 15 years, his spirit broken by betrayal. She couldn't let that happen here, not when she had a chance to stop it. Her phone buzzed, snapping her from her thoughts. A text from her classmate, reminding her of an accounting quiz tomorrow. Serena almost laughed. Tomorrow felt like a lifetime away. She tucked the phone away and stood, her decision made. She'd find a way to reach Ethan Caldwell, no matter the risk. The documents went back into her pocket, their weight both a burden and a call to action. As she resumed her rounds, the hallway felt different. No longer just a place to clean, but a battlefield where she, an invisible janitor, might just change everything. The clock was ticking, and Serena Jackson was ready to fight. The janitor's closet on the 35th floor of Pinnacle Enterprises was a coffin of shadows, its walls lined with mops and bleach bottles that reeked of chemical promises. Serena Jackson sat perched on an overturned bucket, the crumpled documents from the executive trash bin spread across a rickety shelf. Her phone glowed at 2:45 a.m., its light casting sharp angles across her face, etching the worry in her brown eyes. The merger signing with Horizon Innovations was set for 10 a.m., less than 8 hours away, and the weight of that deadline pressed against her chest like a vice. The papers in her hands weren't just trash. They were a ticking bomb, a plan to sabotage a $3.3 billion deal that held the livelihoods of thousands in its fragile balance. Serena's Navy uniform felt tighter, as if it could strangle her resolve, but she refused to let it. Her fingers traced the inked words again, each line a dagger aimed at the heart of Pinnacle. The plan was diabolical. Fake audits would paint the company as a financial ruin. Time to leak to the Financial Post at 11 a.m., shattering Horizon's trust and collapsing the merger. Serena's mind raced with faces. Maria, who slipped her extra coffee packets with a tired smile, whispering about her son's chemotherapy. Jamal, who sketched barbershop logos on napkins during breaks, dreaming of a future beyond fixing leaky pipes. Their lives, and thousands more, depended on this deal. Horizon's 12,000 employees across 7 states would also suffer, their futures tangled in the same web of betrayal. Serena's dreams, a small business, a better life for her daughter, felt distant now, overshadowed by the urgency of what she held. She stood, pacing the closet's narrow confines, her soft-soled shoes scuffing against the linoleum. Ethan Caldwell, Pinnacle's CEO, would arrive at 7 a.m., his routine as predictable as the sunrise. She'd seen his face in company newsletters, his blonde hair and easy smile radiating confidence, a world away from her own. But reaching him meant breaching the 40th floor executive suite, a fortress of badge readers and security cameras. Night staff weren't allowed there without clearance, and Serena's ID was as basic as it got. The risk was stark. Getting caught could mean her job, her tuition savings, her fragile stability. Yet the alternative was worse. She imagined Maria's face crumpling at news of layoffs, Jamal's sketches tossed into a foreclosure pile. Silence wasn't just cowardice, it was complicity. Serena tucked the documents into her uniform pocket, their edges sharp against her hip. She needed a plan, and fast. Her night classes in accounting had taught her to think logically, to break problems into steps. Step 1, get to the executive floor. Step 2, Get Ethan alone. Step 3. Make him believe her. Each step felt like a cliff's edge, but she'd faced worse. Growing up in a cramped apartment, watching her father lose his factory job to corporate greed, had forged a quiet steel in her. She'd clawed her way through night shifts and textbooks, balancing motherhood and ambition. If she could survive that, she could survive this. She slipped out of the closet, her cart rattling as she resumed her rounds. The hallway's silence was oppressive, broken only by the hum of lights and the distant whir of a vacuum from another floor. Serena's mind churned as she emptied trash bins, her hands moving on autopilot. Could she bluff her way past security, claim an emergency cleanup? The guards knew her, but they also knew her place, below the 40th floor, out of sight. She needed a cover, something plausible. A spilled coffee on the boardroom table, perhaps. Urgent enough to justify her presence, mundane enough to avoid suspicion. The lie would have to be perfect, her delivery unshaken. As she approached the service elevator, Serena's phone buzzed. A reminder for an accounting quiz she'd likely miss. She silenced it, her focus narrowing. The documents felt like they were burning through her pocket, urging her forward. She needed more information to bolster her case. During a break in her rounds, she slipped into an empty office, its desk cluttered with sticky notes and a sleeping computer. Logging in with her basic access code, meant for clocking hours, not snooping, she searched Pinnacle's internal portal for merger details. The screen glowed with press releases and financial summaries, confirming the deal's scope. 3.3 billion, uniting two giants, creating jobs and stabilizing communities. The sabotage would ripple far beyond Pinnacle's walls, a tsunami of loss. Serena's fingers hesitated over the keyboard. Was she really doing this? Risking everything for people who barely noticed her? She thought of her daughter, asleep at her mother's place, dreaming of a future Serena was fighting to secure. She thought of her father broken by a company that discarded him. This wasn't just about Maria or Jamal. It was about every worker who'd ever been invisible, their lives collateral damage in corporate games. She logged out, her decision cemented. She'd get to Ethan, no matter the cost. By 6:30 a.m., Serena was cleaning near the 40th floor elevator, her cart strategically positioned to blend in. Her heart thudded as she polished a glass door, watching the lobby below through its reflection. At exactly 7:02 a.m., a black sedan pulled up, and Ethan Caldwell stepped out, his blonde hair catching the dawn's light as he exchanged a warm nod with the doorman. He was younger than she'd expected, mid-30s, his suit casual but sharp, his presence commanding yet approachable. Serena's mouth went dry. This was the man who could save the merger, or dismiss her as a meddling janitor. She rehearsed her words, her voice low under her breath. "Mr. Caldwell, I found something you need to see." Simple, direct, urgent. The elevator dinged, and Serena pushed her cart closer, her pulse racing. The security guard at the executive entrance glanced up, his clipboard in hand. "You're not scheduled here until tonight," he said, his tone more curious than accusing. Serena's mind raced for the lie she'd crafted. "Emergency cleanup in the boardroom," she said, surprised by the steadiness in her voice. "Someone spilled coffee all over the signing table." The guard frowned, checking his log, but her familiarity, years of quiet competence, worked in her favor. He waved her through with a gruff, "Make it quick. Big meeting soon." As the elevator doors closed, Serena felt her stomach lurch, not from the ascent, but from the weight of her choice. There was no turning back. The documents in her pocket were her only weapon, and Ethan Caldwell was her only ally. She pictured the boardroom, its mahogany table and oak doors, a place she'd cleaned 100 times but never entered during daylight. In less than 3 hours, Ethan would be there, pen in hand, ready to sign a deal that could destroy everything. Serena gripped her cart's handle, her knuckles whitening. She wasn't just a janitor tonight. She was a guardian of truths no one else dared to touch. The elevator climbed, and with it, her courage. The elevator to the 40th floor of Pinnacle Enterprises hummed with a deceptive calm, its polished walls reflecting Serena Jackson's tense silhouette. Her cleaning cart, a shield of routine, rattled softly beside her, the crumpled documents in her uniform pocket burning like a secret too heavy to hold. It was 9:58 a.m., and the $3.3 billion merger signing with Horizon Innovations was moments away. Serena's heart hammered against her ribs, each beat a reminder of the stakes. Thousands of jobs, families like Maria's and Jamal's, hanging on the edge of a corporate cliff. She'd bluffed her way past the security guard with a steady lie about a coffee spill in the boardroom, her voice masking the tremor in her chest. Now standing before the solid oak doors of the executive suite, she felt the weight of her audacity. A janitor, invisible for 4 years, was about to storm a room of power. Through the glass panels, Serena glimpsed the boardroom's polished grandeur. A mahogany table gleamed under soft lighting, surrounded by 15 executives in tailored suits, their smiles sharp with anticipation. At the head sat Ethan Caldwell, Pinnacle's CEO, his blonde hair catching the light as he held a gold pen, poised over a stack of documents. Beside him, Victor Lang, the CFO, leaned in, pointing at the signature line with a smile that chilled Serena's blood. Victor's dark eyes never warmed, his charm a polished mask she'd seen during late-night cleaning rounds, always lingering, always whispering into phones. The documents in her pocket, proof of his plan to sabotage the merger with fake financial leaks, felt like they might ignite. She had seconds before Ethan signed, sealing Pinnacle's doom. Serena's hand hovered over the door handle, her breath shallow. She was no hero, just a single mother with night classes and a worn uniform, but the faces of her co-workers flashed before her. Maria's tired gratitude, Jamal's hopeful sketches. She couldn't let them fall. The clock ticked closer to 10 a.m., the moment the merger would either save or destroy. Her fingers tightened, and with a surge of resolve, she shoved the doors open, her card abandoned in the hallway. "Mr. Caldwell, don't sign the $3.3 billion deal," she shouted, her voice slicing through the room's hum like a blade. Silence crashed over the boardroom, heavy and electric. 15 pairs of eyes swiveled to her, a mix of confusion, annoyance, and outright disdain. Ethan's pen froze inches from the paper, his blue eyes locking onto hers, sharp with surprise but not yet judgment. Victor Lang reacted first, his face flushing crimson. "Security," he barked, reaching for the table's phone. "Get this woman out of here now!" His voice was a whip, but Serena stood her ground, the documents clutched in her trembling hand. The room erupted in murmurs, executives shifting in their seats, their tailored suits rustling like a flock of startled birds. A woman in a gray blazer scoffed, "Who let the janitor in here?" Ethan raised a hand, his presence commanding silence without effort. "Wait," he said, his voice steady, cutting through the chaos. His gaze never left Serena's face, searching, curious. "What did you say?" The question was calm, almost gentle, but it carried the weight of a man used to answers. Serena stepped forward, her navy uniform a stark contrast to the sea of black and gray suits. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. "Mr. Caldwell, someone's sabotaging the merger. I have proof." She held up the crumpled papers, their wrinkles and stains a testament to their origin in a trash bin, yet their contents lethal. The room exploded again, voices overlapping in outrage. "This is preposterous," a balding executive snapped. "How did she even get in here?" another demanded, glaring at the door as if expecting security to materialize. Victor stood, his chair scraping back, his anger barely contained. "This is outrageous, Ethan. She's unhinged. We can't delay the signing for some janitor's fantasy." His words dripped with contempt, but Serena noticed a bead of sweat on his temple, a crack in his polished facade. She stepped closer, her heart pounding, but her resolve unshaken. "These papers were in the 38th floor executive trash bin," she said, her voice gaining strength. "They outline a plan to leak fake financial data to make Horizon think Pinnacle's hiding debts. It's set to hit the media at 11:01 a.m. Ethan set his pen down deliberately, his expression shifting from curiosity to concern. He stood, taller than she'd imagined, his casual suit doing little to hide the authority in his broad shoulders. "Show me," he said, extending his hand. Serena crossed the room, every step under the weight of hostile stares. She handed him the documents, their edges frayed, but the words stark. Fake audits, fabricated losses, a timeline to ruin. Ethan's eyes scanned the pages, his jaw tightening as he absorbed the betrayal. The room fell quiet again, the executive's indignation replaced by uneasy whispers. Victor's laugh was harsh, echoing off the walls. Ethan, this is ridiculous. She probably forged these herself. Ethan ignored him, his focus on the papers. These contain confidential financial projections, he said, his voice low but firm. Only a handful of people have access to this data. His gaze swept the room, lingering on Victor, whose smile faltered. Ms. Jackson, where exactly did you find these? Serena swallowed, her mouth dry. The executive waste bin in office 3847, sir. I empty it every night at 2:15 a.m. They were hidden under food containers. Ethan nodded, his expression unreadable but intense. He turned to his assistant, a sharp-eyed woman at the table's end. Clara, call Horizon. Tell them we're delaying the signing by 2 hours. We have a security issue. Victor's face paled, his hands clenching. Ethan, you can't be serious. You're letting a janitor derail the biggest deal in our history? Ethan's eyes were steel. I'm investigating a credible threat to our company. If these are fake, we'll know soon enough. If they're real, he let the words hang, heavy with implication. The executives shifted uncomfortably, their confidence shaken. Serena stood in the center of it all, her pulse racing, but her purpose clear. She'd expected to be thrown out, maybe arrested, but Ethan's trust, however tentative, changed everything. As the room buzzed with tension, she knew this was only the beginning. The truth was out, and the fight to save Pinnacle had just begun. The air in Ethan Caldwell's office, on the 40th floor of Pinnacle Enterprises, crackled with tension. The city skyline sprawling beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows, like a glittering promise of power. Serena Jackson sat across from Ethan's desk, her Navy janitor's uniform stark against the plush leather chair, the crumpled documents now spread before the CEO like evidence in a courtroom. It was just past 10 a.m., the postponed merger signing with Horizon Innovations hanging in the balance, a $3.3 billion deal teetering on the edge of sabotage. Serena's heart still raced from her audacious interruption of the boardroom meeting, her shout to stop Ethan's pen echoing in her ears. She'd expected to be escorted out by security, not invited into the inner sanctum of Pinnacle's leader. Yet here she was, her hands folded tightly to hide their tremble, as Ethan's blue eyes studied the papers with an intensity that made the room feel smaller. Ethan's fingers traced the lines of the sabotage plan, his jaw tight, his blonde hair slightly mussed from running his hand through it. The documents detailed a scheme to leak fake financial reports at 11 a.m., designed to convince Horizon that Pinnacle was drowning in hidden debts. These projections, he said, his voice low but edged with steel, contained data only a few people in this company could access. He looked up, his gaze piercing. Ms. Jackson, you said you found these in the 38th floor executive trash bin? Serena nodded, her throat dry. Office 3847, sir, at 2:15 a.m., under some takeout containers. Her voice was steadier than she felt, the weight of Victor Lang's earlier rage, his demand to have her removed, still lingering like a storm cloud. Ethan leaned back, his eyes flicking to the documents, then to Serena. This isn't some prank. Whoever wrote this knows our financial systems inside out. He tapped a specific line, his expression darkening. The audit figures here, they're fabricated but precise, tailored to trigger panic. This was planned carefully. Serena shifted, her uniform rustling. The leak was set for 11 a.m., she said. If Horizon sees those numbers, they'll pull out. Ethan's assistant, Clara, a sharp-eyed woman with a tablet in hand, spoke from the corner. I've delayed Horizon's team by 2 hours, but they're restless. They want answers. Ethan nodded, his focus unbroken. Then we need to find them. Fast. He stood pacing to the window, the city's pulse reflected in his restless energy. Serena watched him, struck by his intensity. A man who'd built Pinnacle from a startup in a cramped office, now facing betrayal from within. She'd seen his face in newsletters, all polished smiles, but up close he was human. his broad shoulders carrying a burden she could almost feel. "Ms. Jackson," he said, turning to her, "you know this building better than anyone. You see things the rest of us miss. Conversations, habits, patterns. Will you help me investigate this?" The question hit her like a jolt. A janitor asked to join a corporate manhunt? Her first instinct was to shrink back, to remind him she was nobody. But the faces of Maria and Jamal, their dreams tied to this merger, anchored her. "Yes, sir," she said, her voice firm. "I'll help." Ethan's eyes softened, a flicker of respect breaking through his urgency. "Call me Ethan, and thank you, Serena." He handed her a business card, his direct number scrawled on it. "If you see anything unusual, late-night visitors, odd conversations, call me, day or night." Serena took the card, her fingers brushing his, the contact grounding her in the surreal moment. She nodded, slipping it into her pocket beside the now infamous documents. Ethan returned to his desk, pulling up a laptop. "Let's start with the network logs. These fake reports came from our internal system. Only about 40 people have that kind of access." Serena leaned forward, her accounting classes kicking in. "Can you trace who logged in last night?" she asked, surprising herself with her boldness. Ethan's lips twitched, almost a smile. "We can try." He typed rapidly, screens flashing with timestamps and usernames. Serena watched, her mind cataloging the building's rhythms, Victor Lang's late-night phone calls, his locked office door, the way he'd linger in the halls when she cleaned. "Victor was in his office past midnight last week," she said quietly. "I heard him talking, low and urgent, like he didn't want to be overheard." Ethan's fingers paused, his eyes narrowing. "Victor's been different lately, secretive, pushing deals I thought were too risky." Serena hesitated, then spoke. "He was quick to call me crazy in the boardroom. Too quick." Ethan's jaw tightened, a shadow of pain crossing his face. "He's been with me since the beginning. 10 years. We built this place together." The betrayal hung unspoken, a wound Serena could sense but not touch. She thought of her co-workers, their lives at stake. "I clean their offices," she said. "Maria in payroll. She's saving for her son's treatments. Jamal in maintenance. He's got sketches for a barber shop he wants to open. They don't know what's coming, but they trust this company." Ethan's gaze softened, her words hitting something deep. "You're right," he said. "This isn't just about numbers. It's about people." Clara re-entered, her tablet buzzing with an update. "The Financial Post just got an anonymous tip about irregularities in our books. It's late, 11:15 a.m., but it's out there." Ethan's face hardened. Exactly as the plan predicted. "Serena, you were right on the timing." Serena's stomach dropped. "Does that mean the merger's off?" Ethan shook his head. "Not yet. Horizon's demanding audits, but we have a window to prove this is a setup. Clara, tell our PR team to push back hard. Call it misinformation. Buy us time." Clara nodded and stepped out, leaving Serena and Ethan alone in the office's charged silence. Ethan sat, rolling up his sleeves, a gesture that made him less the untouchable CEO and more a man facing a fight. "Serena, why did you do this?" he asked, his voice quieter now. "You could have thrown those papers away, gone home. Most would." Serena paused, her fingers tracing the edge of her uniform. "I kept thinking about Maria, Jamal, all of them. I see their lives, the photos on their desks, the calls to their kids. I know what it's like to lose everything. My dad worked a factory job for 15 years. One day they shut it down, no warning. He never recovered." Her voice cracked, but she pushed on. "I couldn't let that happen here, not if I could stop it." Ethan leaned forward, his elbows on the desk, his eyes holding hers. "You risked everything for people you barely know." Serena met his gaze. "They're not strangers. I clean their spaces, hear their stories. They're real to me." For a moment, neither spoke, the city's hum filling the silence. Ethan stood, offering a small, genuine smile. "Then let's save them together. Start by watching the 38th floor tonight. Victor's office, the conference rooms. Anything out of place, call me." Serena nodded, the business card in her pocket a lifeline. As she left the office, the weight of Ethan's trust settled over her. both daunting and empowering. She was no longer just a janitor. She was a partner in a battle to save Pinnacle, and the fight was just beginning. The 40th floor office of Ethan Caldwell was a fortress of glass and steel, its floor-to-ceiling windows framing a city that pulsed with secrets. Serena Jackson sat across from Ethan's desk, her Navy janitor's uniform a quiet rebellion against the polished opulence surrounding her. The crumpled documents that had sparked this investigation lay between them, their damning words now corroborated by a chilling reality. The Financial Post had received the leaked fake financial data at 11:15 a.m., just as the sabotage plan predicted. The $3.3 billion merger with Horizon Innovations hung by a thread, and the air in the room crackled with urgency. Serena's hands rested in her lap, steady despite the storm in her chest. She'd gone from invisible cleaner to trusted ally in hours, and Ethan's request for her help in this investigation felt like a lifeline and a weight all at once. Ethan leaned over his laptop, his blonde hair catching the afternoon light as he scrolled through network logs, his jaw tight with focus. "These fake reports were created on our internal system," he said, his voice low, edged with a betrayal he couldn't yet name. "Only 40 people have access, and the sophistication of the data points to someone high up." Serena nodded, her mind racing with observations from her night shifts. Victor Lang, the CFO, had been a shadow in her cleaning rounds, his late-night phone calls, locked office door, and clipped urgent tones. "Victor's been in his office past midnight all week," she said, her voice careful but firm. "I've heard him talking low, like he's hiding something." Ethan's eyes flicked up, sharp and searching. "Victor's been my friend for 10 years. We started Pinnacle in a garage, splitting ramen noodles to save cash." His words carried a wound, raw and unspoken. "But lately he's been off, pushing expansions I thought were reckless, arguing against policies that help employees." Serena saw the pain in his tightened jaw, the flicker of doubt in his blue eyes. She thought of her co-workers, Maria, saving for her son's treatments, Jamal, sketching his barbershop dreams. "He was quick to dismiss me in the boardroom," she said. "Called me crazy before you even read the papers." That felt personal. Ethan's fingers paused on the keyboard, his expression hardening. "You're right. Too quick." He pulled up a new screen, a log of file accesses. "Look at this. Someone accessed our financial projections at 3 a.m. last night. That's not normal for anyone, even Victor." Serena leaned closer, her accounting classes sharpening her focus. "Can you see whose credentials were used?" Ethan shook his head. "Not yet. The logs show an executive-level login, but it could be any of the 40 with access. We need more." He turned to her, his gaze steady. "Serena, you know this building's pulse, people's habits, their routines. Keep watching, especially Victor. Anything odd, call me." He slid his business card across the desk, his direct number a lifeline she tucked beside the documents in her pocket. The office door opened, and Clara, Ethan's assistant, stepped in, her tablet buzzing with urgency. "Horizon's auditors are demanding a full financial review after the leak," she said. "They're spooked, Ethan. We've got days, maybe hours before they walk." Ethan's face tightened, but his voice remained calm. "Tell PR to keep pushing back. Call the leak a competitor's smear. And get our IT team to trace that login. We need a name." Clara nodded and left, her heels clicking like a metronome in the tense silence. Serena felt the clock ticking, each second a step closer to the merger's collapse. "If Horizon pulls out," she asked, "what happens to everyone? Maria, Jamal, all of them?" Ethan stood, pacing to the window, the city sprawling below like a chessboard where every move mattered. "Layoffs, thousands. Pinnacle would survive, maybe, but gutted. Horizon's 12,000 workers would face the same. This isn't just about money. It's about lives." His words echoed Serena's thoughts, grounding her resolve. She stood, her uniform a stark contrast to the office's sleek lines. "I clean their offices," she said. "Maria leaves notes for her son on her desk. Jamal's got barbershop sketches taped to his toolbox. They trust this company to keep them safe." Ethan turned, his eyes softening with something like awe. "You see them, don't you? Not just their jobs, but their stories." Serena nodded, her voice quiet but fierce. I've been invisible for 4 years, Ethan. I hear their calls to their kids, see their dreams in the trash I empty. I can't let them lose everything. Ethan crossed the room, stopping just short of her, his presence both commanding and vulnerable. You're not invisible anymore, Serena. Not to me. The words hit her like a warm tide, stirring something she couldn't name. I need you to keep doing what you do. Watch, listen, notice. Victor's office, the conference rooms, and the trash bins. If he's behind this, he'll slip up. Serena clutched the business card, its edges sharp against her palm. I'll watch. I promise. As she left the office, the elevator ride down felt like a descent into a new reality. The building's familiar hum, elevator dings, distant vacuums, now carried a sinister undertone. Serena's rounds resumed, her cart a disguise for her new role. She passed Victor's office on the 38th floor, its door locked, but a faint light seeped beneath. She lingered, pretending to polish a nearby plaque, her ears straining for sound. A muffled voice, Victor's, came through, clipped and urgent. It's under control, he said, the words barely audible. The leak went through. They'll pull out soon. Her pulse spiked, but she stayed still, her cleaning rag moving in slow, deliberate circles. Who was he talking to? She couldn't risk getting closer, not yet. Back in the janitor's closet, Serena pulled out her phone, her fingers hovering over Ethan's number. She hesitated, the weight of accusation heavy. Victor was Ethan's friend, his partner from the beginning. But the documents, the leak, Victor's hostility, they all pointed to him. She typed a quick message. Victor's in his office now. Heard him say the leak went through. He's talking to someone. She hit send, her breath catching. The reply came fast. Stay safe. Keep watching. I'm checking the logs now. Serena tucked the phone away, her resolve hardening. She wasn't just cleaning floors anymore. She was hunting a traitor. As she pushed her cart through the 38th floor hallway, the security cameras blinked above, their red eyes unyielding. Serena felt exposed, yet empowered. Ethan's trust had transformed her from a shadow into a sentinel. She thought of her father, broken by a factory's sudden closure, and vowed not to let Pinnacle's people suffer the same. The merger was a lifeline, and Victor's betrayal was a knife at its throat. Serena's eyes scanned the hallway, every door, every shadow, every whisper. She was ready to catch him, to save the company, to protect the lives she'd come to know. The investigation was no longer just Ethan's. It was hers too, and she would not fail. The 35th floor of Pinnacle Enterprises was a labyrinth of shadows, its hallways dim under the faint glow of emergency lights. Serena Jackson moved silently, her cleaning cart left behind in a janitor's closet, her soft-soled shoes whispering against the polished floor. It was nearing midnight, the building's usual hum replaced by an eerie stillness that amplified every sound. Her heart pounded, a steady drumbeat of adrenaline, as she clutched her phone, its screen glowing with Ethan Caldwell's last message. Stay safe, I'm on my way. She'd overheard Victor Lang, Pinnacle's CFO, in a conference room earlier, his voice low and venomous, plotting with two strangers to discredit her and ensure the $3.3 billion merger with Horizon Innovations collapsed. The muffled recording she'd sent Ethan was shaky, but Victor's words, that janitor's the problem, had been clear enough to spur action. Serena's Navy uniform felt like a disguise now, cloaking her new role as Ethan's eyes in the building's underbelly. She'd slipped away from the conference room after Victor's damning conversation, her pulse racing as she hid in the closet to call Ethan. But the empty conference room, when Ethan arrived with security, told her Victor was slippery, always a step ahead. Now guided by a tip from a night guard who'd seen Victor badge into the server room, Serena crept toward the 35th floor data center, a place she'd cleaned but never lingered in. The server room was Pinnacle's nerve center, housing the digital lifeblood of the company's financials, exactly where a saboteur like Victor would strike. The door to the server room was ajar, a sliver of blue light spilling into the hallway. Serena pressed herself against the wall, her breath shallow as she peered inside. Rows of humming servers cast eerie shadows, their blinking lights like a constellation of secrets. Victor stood at a terminal, his face bathed in the monitor's glow, his fingers flying across a keyboard. A portable drive was plugged into the system, its progress bar ticking toward completion as it copied confidential merger files. Serena's stomach twisted. Those files, laced with fake data, could sink the merger if they reached Horizon's auditors. She glanced at her phone. 11:50 p.m. Ethan and security were close, but she needed proof, something undeniable. She eased her phone from her pocket, switching to video mode, her hands trembling as she aimed it through the door's crack. Victor's voice cut through the hum, low and urgent, as he spoke into a phone pressed to his ear. "It's done. I've got the merger timeline and the doctored projections. Horizon will bolt when they see these numbers." He paused, listening, then sneered. "Mitchell suspects something, but he's got no proof. And that janitor? An accident in the building, late at night, would solve that problem." Serena's blood ran cold, her grip tightening on the phone. Victor wasn't just sabotaging the merger. He was planning to silence her permanently. A faint noise behind her, footsteps, made her heart leap. She turned, half expecting Victor's accomplices, but it was Ethan, his blonde hair disheveled, his eyes fierce with determination. Two security guards flanked him, their radios silent but ready. Serena motioned to the door, whispering, "He's copying files. He just threatened me." Ethan's jaw clenched, a flicker of fury crossing his face. He pulled out his phone, already recording, and gave her a nod. "Stay behind me," he whispered, his voice low but steady. Serena slipped her phone into her pocket, her resolve hardening. This was the moment to end Victor's betrayal. Ethan pushed the door open, stepping into the server room with a presence that filled the space. "That's enough, Victor," he said, his voice cold as steel, cutting through the hum of the servers. Victor spun around, his face draining of color, the portable drive clattering to the floor. "Ethan, this isn't what it looks like," he stammered, his hands raised as if to ward off the accusation. Serena stepped out from behind Ethan, her eyes locked on Victor's, unflinching despite the fear gnawing at her. "It looks like you're stealing merger files and planning to hurt me," she said, her voice steady, carrying the weight of truth. Victor's shock twisted into anger, his polished charm cracking. "You're believing a janitor over me? Your oldest friend?" His voice was a snarl, but the sweat on his brow betrayed his panic. Ethan stepped closer, his phone still recording, his blue eyes blazing. "That janitor saved this company. She risked everything while you, my oldest friend, plotted to destroy it." The guards moved in, their presence a silent threat, but Victor wasn't done. "You're blind, Ethan," he spat. "The people I'm with have real money, real power. They could have made us untouchable, but you're too soft, always playing the hero." Serena's heart ached for Ethan, seeing the pain of betrayal in his tightened shoulders. She stepped forward, her voice calm but cutting. "You had everything, Mr. Lang. A company that cares, a friend who trusted you. You threw it away for greed." Victor's eyes narrowed, his gaze venomous. "You don't belong here," he hissed. "You're nothing but a cleaner meddling in things you can't understand." Ethan moved between them, his voice a low warning. "Leave her out of this." The guards closed in, one retrieving the fallen drive, the other cuffing Victor's wrists as he protested, his voice rising in desperation. As Victor was led away, the server room's hum seemed louder, a mechanical heartbeat echoing the confrontation's intensity. Ethan turned to Serena, his expression a mix of exhaustion and gratitude. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice softer now, his concern genuine. Serena nodded, though her hands still shook. "I got it on video," she said, pulling out her phone. The footage was grainy, but Victor's words were clear, damning evidence of his intent. Ethan's eyes softened, a flicker of admiration breaking through. "You're incredible, Serena. I didn't know if I could trust my instincts about Victor, but you saw it." They stood in the server room's glow, the weight of the moment settling around them. Serena thought of Maria and Jamal, their dreams preserved by this victory, but the danger wasn't over. Victor's accomplices were still out there, and his threat lingered like a shadow. Ethan seemed to read her thoughts. "We're not done," he said, his voice resolute, "but tonight we stopped him. Thanks to you." Serena met his gaze, feeling the shift in their dynamic. Not just boss and janitor, but partners in a fight for justice. As they left the server room, the city's lights glittering below, Serena knew this confrontation was a turning point. Victor's mask was off, but the battle for Pinnacle's future was far from won. The cafeteria on the 15th floor of Pinnacle Enterprises was a ghost town at 8:01 p.m. Its fluorescent lights dimmed to a skeletal glow, casting long shadows across empty tables. Serena Jackson sat alone at a corner booth, her Navy janitor's uniform replaced by a simple blouse and jeans, a deliberate choice to blend in as a vulnerable target. Her hands, hidden beneath the table, fidgeted with a small earpiece, its faint static a lifeline to Ethan Caldwell and the FBI team 2 floors above. The $3.3 billion merger with Horizon Innovations was days from signing, but Victor Lang's arrest hadn't ended the threat. His outside partners, shadowy figures with deep pockets, were still out there, and Serena's plan, a trap to lure them out, was now in motion. Her heart pounded, not just from fear but from the audacity of her role. A janitor turned bait, risking everything to save thousands of jobs. The plan was simple but perilous. Serena had seeded a rumor through her gossipy supervisor, Mrs. Hayes, that she was drowning in financial distress, a fabricated story about her mother's costly medical bills. The bait was set. A desperate janitor, already a thorn in the conspirators' side, might be bought for the right price. Ethan had resisted at first, his blue eyes flashing with protective concern in his office hours earlier. "It's too dangerous," he'd said, pacing, his blonde hair catching the light. "Victor threatened you already. These people don't play games." Serena had stood firm, her voice steady. "I'm already a target, Ethan. Victor's partners blame me for his arrest. The only way I'm safe is if we catch them." Reluctantly, he'd agreed, but only with full FBI backup and a promise to pull her out at the first sign of danger. Now in the cafeteria's eerie quiet, Serena's earpiece crackled. "Contact approaching," Agent Martinez's voice whispered. 2 males, late 30s, entering the lobby. Serena took a deep breath, forcing her shoulders to slump as if weighed by defeat. She sipped a cold coffee, her eyes darting to the entrance, where footsteps echoed closer. 2 men appeared, their tailored suits out of place in the space. The taller one, with sharp cheekbones and a colder smile, spoke first. "Ms. Jackson?" His voice was smooth like oil over glass. "I'm Richard Holt. This is Marcus Kane. We understand you're open to a business opportunity." Serena's pulse spiked, but she played her part, her voice hesitant. "I don't know what you're talking about." Holt's smile didn't waver, but his eyes were predatory. "Of course not, but we know about your mother's medical bills. Expensive, aren't they?" The lie she'd planted was working, and it made her skin crawl. Kane sat across from her, his bulk filling the booth, his gaze assessing. "Victor Lang said you were resourceful," he said. "Maybe too resourceful, but we're willing to overlook that, for a price." Serena leaned back, feigning uncertainty. "Victor's in jail. What do you want from me?" Holt remained standing, scanning the room like a hawk. "The merger can still fail. Horizon's auditors arrive tomorrow. If they find irregularities, say, forged documents suggesting other employees are corrupt, they'll walk away." Kane slid a manila envelope across the table, its weight heavy with intent. "Plant these in the right filing cabinets," he said. "Your cleaning job gives you access to every office. No one suspects a janitor." Serena stared at the envelope, her stomach twisting at the thought of what it contained. More lies to destroy Pinnacle, to shatter the lives of Maria, Jamal, and thousands more. "What's in it for me?" she asked, her voice steady, despite the fear clawing at her. Holt's smile tightened. $40,000, half now, half when Horizon pulls out. He pulled another envelope from his jacket, thick with cash, and held it just out of reach. "But one condition. Your little investigation with Ethan Caldwell stops now. We don't tolerate divided loyalties." In the security office 2 floors above, Ethan watched the live feed, his fists clenched, his blonde hair falling into his eyes as he leaned toward the monitor. Agent Martinez's voice was calm but urgent. "Team's in position, Mr. Caldwell. She's supposed to take the money, agree to the deal. That's our evidence." Ethan's jaw tightened, his protective instincts warring with the plan. Serena's posture, tense but defiant, told him she was about to veer off script. In the cafeteria, Serena's eyes flicked to the envelope, then back to Holt's face. She stood, her voice rising with a courage that surprised even her. "You know what? I'm not interested in your offer." Holt's facade cracked, his eyes narrowing to slits. "That wasn't a request, Miss Jackson." Kane's hand twitched toward his jacket, a subtle threat, but Serena pressed on, her voice gaining strength. "This isn't a negotiation. I'm wearing a wire, gentlemen. This conversation is recorded, and the FBI is surrounding this building." The cafeteria's silence shattered as Holt and Kane froze, their faces twisting in panic. Serena took a step forward, her fear buried under resolve. "You picked the wrong company to target. Pinnacle isn't just a business, it's a family, and we protect each other." Footsteps thundered as Agent Martinez and her team burst through the cafeteria doors, weapons drawn. "FBI, hands where we can see them." Holt and Kane raised their hands, their bravado collapsing as security guards blocked every exit. Ethan rushed in, his eyes finding Serena's, relief flooding his features as he pulled her into a fierce embrace. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice tight with worry, his arms a shield around her. Serena nodded, her body shaking as the adrenaline ebbed. "I'm fine," she said, her voice softer now. "Did we get enough?" Martinez, cuffing Holt, nodded. "Bribery, conspiracy, threats. More than enough to lock them up for years." As the agents led Holt and Kane away, Holt's voice cut through, venomous. "This isn't over, Jackson." Ethan stepped in front of Serena, his voice firm. "Yes, it is." The cafeteria emptied, leaving Serena and Ethan in a quiet that felt victorious, yet fragile. He turned to her, his blue eyes warm with pride. "You went off script," he said, a half-smile breaking through. "Scared me half to death." Serena managed a shaky laugh. "I couldn't let them think they'd won. Not after what they planned." Ethan's hand lingered on her arm, his touch grounding. "You saved the merger, Serena. You saved us all." The city lights glittered outside, a testament to the future they'd secured. Serena thought of Maria's son, Jamal's dreams, the thousands of lives untouched by the conspirators' greed. The merger would sign as planned, Pinnacle and Horizon united. As they walked toward the elevator, Ethan's presence beside her felt like a promise, not just of safety, but of something deeper, unspoken. Serena's heart raced, not from danger now, but from the realization that this victory was theirs, together. The trap had sprung, the triumph was real, and Pinnacle's family was safe, for now. The boardroom on the 40th floor of Pinnacle Enterprises buzzed with anticipation, its mahogany table gleaming under the morning light, a stark contrast to the chaos of days past. Serena Jackson stood at the front of the room, her Navy janitor's uniform replaced by a tailored blazer and skirt, a gift from Ethan Caldwell that felt like armor for her new role. The $3.3 billion merger with Horizon Innovations was set to be signed at 11 a.m., its future secured after Serena's daring trap had ensnared Victor Lang's accomplices, Richard Holt and Marcus Kane. The air was electric with celebration, executives and employees mingling, their faces alight with relief. Serena's heart raced, not from fear now, but from the surreal weight of her transformation. From invisible cleaner to a woman whose courage had saved thousands of lives. Ethan stood at the head of the table, his blonde hair catching the light, his charcoal suit sharp yet relaxed, a gold pen in hand, ready to seal the merger. The room was packed, Horizon's representatives in crisp suits, Pinnacle's executives, and a handful of employees like Maria from payroll and Jamal from maintenance, invited to witness the historic moment. Serena sat in the front row, her hands folded over a packet of documents, still adjusting to the eyes that now saw her, not as a janitor, but as a hero. She caught Maria's grateful smile, Jamal's proud nod, and felt a warmth that anchored her in the whirlwind of change. Ethan cleared his throat, his presence silencing the room. "Before we sign," he said, his voice steady but rich with emotion, "I want to share what brought us here." His blue eyes found Serena's, holding them with a warmth that made her breath catch. "A conspiracy threatened this merger, this company, and the lives of thousands. It wasn't our security team, our auditors, or the FBI who stopped it. It was one of our own, Serena Jackson, who risked everything because she cared more about her colleagues than her safety. The room erupted in applause, and Serena's cheeks burned as heads turned, their gazes filled with admiration. She'd spent 4 years invisible, but now she was seen, truly seen. Ethan raised a hand, quieting the crowd. Serena's courage taught me something vital. A company's strength lies in its people, not just its profits. Effective immediately, Pinnacle is launching new policies, profit sharing, tuition assistance, expanded healthcare, and promotion pathways that value talent over titles. He nodded to Clara, his assistant, who distributed packets outlining the changes. Serena opened hers, her eyes scanning plans she'd discussed with Ethan in late-night talks, ideas born from her years of seeing coworkers' struggles. Her heart swelled. These weren't just policies, they were promises to people like Maria, whose son needed care, and Jamal, whose barbershop dreams deserved a chance. Ethan's voice grew firmer. To lead by example, we're launching a consulting division to help other companies build cultures that prioritize their people. Heading this division will be our newest executive, Serena Jackson. The room gasped, then applauded again, louder this time. Serena stood, her legs unsteady but her smile steady, nodding graciously. She caught Ethan's gaze, his pride evident, and felt a surge of confidence. The merger signing proceeded smoothly, Horizon's representatives shaking hands with Ethan, their optimism palpable. The $3.3 billion deal, nearly destroyed by greed, was now a beacon of trust and shared values. As the crowd moved to a reception area, Serena found herself surrounded by colleagues. Maria hugged her, tears in her eyes. "You saved us," she whispered. Jamal grinned, promising to name a barber chair after her. Even the security guards, once skeptical of her presence, offered respectful nods. Serena stepped onto the balcony for a moment of quiet, the city sprawling below, its pulse a reminder of the lives she'd protected. Ethan joined her, his presence familiar yet electric. "How does it feel?" he asked, leaning against the railing, his voice soft. Serena exhaled, her breath visible in the cool air. "Surreal. A week ago, I was worrying about tuition. Now I'm an executive." "You earned it," Ethan said, his eyes intense. "Every policy in that packet came from you. Your stories, your heart." Serena smiled, touched by his faith. "I couldn't have done it without you listening." They stood in comfortable silence, the city humming below. Serena thought of her daughter, safe with her mother, and her dreams, once distant, now within reach. Ethan shifted, his hand brushing hers, a spark in the touch. "There's something else," he said, his voice lower now, almost hesitant. He reached into his jacket, pulling out a small velvet box, and Serena's breath caught, her heart racing with a hope she hadn't dared name. "Serena Jackson," Ethan said, dropping to one knee, the box opening to reveal a diamond ring that gleamed like a star. "You saved my company, but more importantly, you showed me what matters. Courage, compassion, people. You've changed my life, and I want to build a future with you, in work and in everything else. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in Serena's eyes, the weight of his words overwhelming. She'd gone from cleaning his office to standing beside him, valued not despite her past, but because of who she was. "Yes, Ethan," she said, her voice steady with certainty. "Yes to all of it." He slipped the ring onto her finger, standing to pull her into a gentle kiss, their connection sealed in the quiet of the balcony. Applause erupted behind them. Colleagues had gathered at the glass doors, Maria wiping tears, Jamal cheering. Ethan laughed, his arm around Serena. "Guess we have an audience." Serena grinned, her ring catching the light. "They're our family." The moment was theirs, but it belonged to Pinnacle too, a company reborn through their shared fight. As they rejoined the celebration, Serena felt the city's energy mirrored in her own, a future bright with possibility. Later in Ethan's office, they sat on a couch, the city sparkling beyond. "The merger's stronger now," Ethan said, pouring 2 glasses of water. "Horizon was impressed with how we handled the threat." Serena nodded, her mind on the new division. And the consulting work, it's a chance to change lives, not just here, but everywhere. Ethan's smile was warm, his pride evident. That's your vision, Serena. I'm just lucky to be part of it. She looked at him, seeing not just the CEO, but the man who trusted her, fought beside her. Their partnership, born in crisis, was now a promise of love, of purpose, of a future where no one was invisible. As they toasted with water, the city hummed below, a testament to the lives they'd saved and the love they'd found. What an incredible journey we've shared in The Janitor's Justice, where Serena's courage turned the tide against betrayal and saved thousands of lives. What did you think of her transformation from an unseen janitor to a corporate hero and Ethan's partner in love and purpose? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Did her bravery inspire you, or what would you have done in her shoes? A huge thank you for joining us in this gripping tale of trust and triumph. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more thrilling stories and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Share where you're watching from, and let's keep the conversation going. We can't wait to meet you again in our next video. Until then, keep chasing what's right.